People of Reddit who have encountered ghosts or other supernatural beings. What was your experience like? What happened?
The quiet banging, working in a hospital at night has its own kind of eerie rhythm. It was around 3 in the morning, and we'd recently moved to an old pediatric floor because our unit was under renovation. I can't explain it, but something about that floor always felt off. Anyway, the call bell goes off. One of my patients is furious, insisting the person next door has been banging on the walls non-stop. And you know what? We could hear it, this faint, hollow banging. It wasn't loud, but it was there. We apologised, said we'd check it out, and went to the room next door. The second we stepped inside, the banging stopped. The room was silent. The patient was sound asleep, completely undisturbed. There was no way it could have been him. I remember standing there for a second, trying to rationalise it, but there was nothing. We walked back to the first patient, and I'll never forget the way they looked at us, wide-eyed, almost desperate. You didn't talk to them? They were banging just now. I heard it, but we hadn't. Not anymore. I tried to brush it off, but the atmosphere that night, something about it felt wrong, like we were being watched. And even though it's been a while since that happened, I still get chills whenever I think about it. The man in the corner, there's this one story that stayed with me more than the others. I work in inpatient oncology, so we often care for patients for months. We get to know them, sometimes too well. One patient in particular had been with us for quite some time. He was on comfort care, and as these things often go, his condition declined quickly. He passed away one night, completely alone. We took him to the morgue, cleaned the room, and prepped it for a new patient. A few hours later, a new woman was admitted there. Everything seemed fine until the middle of the night. I'll never forget the panic in her voice when she called out. "There's a strange man sitting in my room," she said. We rushed to her, expecting I don't even know what, but the room was empty. She swore up and down that she'd seen him. "He was right there in the corner," she said, pointing to the same spot over and over again. She even described him, tall, thin, with a limp, wearing a hospital gown, and every detail matched the man who had passed away just hours earlier. We didn't know what to say to her. What could we say? We tried to reassure her, of course, but inside I was shaken. I couldn't stop picturing him sitting there watching us, maybe even wondering what we were doing in his room. The persistent call bell? The last one, well, this one still makes me laugh nervously when I think about it. We had another patient, older gentleman we cared for over a long period of time. He was confused and restless, always setting off his bed alarms. It got to the point where his alarms became background noise to us. You'd hear the beeping and just think, oh, it's him again. When he passed, it was a sad moment for all of us. His room was right next to the nurse's station, so it felt like we'd lost a part of our nightly routine. The room was cleaned and placed on hold for a new patient. That first night, though, his call bell started going off. At first, we thought it was a glitch. Maybe the system hadn't been reset properly. Maintenance came in, checked everything and said it was fine, but the bell kept ringing over and over all night long. Finally, one of the nurses, bless her, got fed up. She marched into the room, stood right in the middle, and said, "All right, enough's enough. You've had your time. Let us do our jobs." And just like that, it stopped. No one could explain it, and honestly, none of us wanted to try. The call bell never went off again after that, but none of us volunteered to sleep in that room on break anymore. I guess when you spend enough time in a place like this, you start to feel the weight of all the lives that have passed through. Maybe they leave a little piece of themselves behind, or maybe they just don't leave at all.